everyone, how are you doing? Well, today's video is going to be my 2018 luxury wish list. I did this video last year and it had a lot of good response. A lot of you also let me know what was on your wish list, so I loved reading that in the comments because we could kind of go back and forth with that. So it's funny, I had to pull up my wish list from last year to see what has changed, maybe what I had purchased from that list, what wasn't even on the list anymore. And it's so funny because a couple of months ago, I was kind of making a note in my phone about some things maybe that I wanted. It was, you know, maybe before Christmas or something. And I was like, I didn't really feel like I want a lot. And you know how that goes? Then it was like every time I thought of something, I'm like, let me put it in my phone. Well, let me tell you, now I feel like my wish list is big. And by wish list, I mean, these are things I like. It's not necessarily that I need them or I want to go out and buy them, and let's be real, who needs any of this? But it's things that have caught my eye or been on my radar for a little bit, and so I keep a list of them, so maybe if I go in the store, it's things I might want to look at in person. So I have things from like Louis Vuitton, let's see, Gucci, Hermes, like you name it. It's funny to me to see the differences from last year to this year. So I have it on my phone, so I'm gonna pull this up. And then I have my one from last year over here on my computer. So let's just start. I'm looking at the Toiletry 19 from Louis Vuitton. I still have that on my wish list. I always forget to look at it when I'm in store, or when I'm in store, I'm always in there, you know, with like a one-track mind, like, oh, I'm gonna get this specific thing. So I still have that on my wish list because I would like to add it to my collection. Next, I also had the Keep All Bandolier 50 from Louis Vuitton. And I think I mentioned that I would like a vintage one. So that is definitely still on my list. It's not something that I need right away. I occasionally look for it. I would like one from the 90s because I graduated high school in 91. So I don't know, something about the 90s I would like to have one because I still feel like that's the decade you can kind of find them is still in really good shape. So that's still on my list, but again, something I just periodically browse around the internet for to see if it's available. It's not something like, you know, I'm dying to have, but it would be cool to have. So I thought it would be, you know, again, like I mentioned, it's kind of cool to go back and forth between the two to see what was on my wish list last year versus this year. Because if I don't mention something, I don't want you to wonder, you know, why it's not on there. So I'm looking at an Alma. I can't remember if this is the Alma PM or what it is, but it was the black epi leather. I did look at this in store last year and it just wasn't wowing me like I thought it would when I saw it in person. I believe it is the PM looking at it now because I always thought, oh, that's just a classic bag. Well, as many of you know, I bought a Kate Spade bag kind of in that Alma shape, and I realized, you know, they're worlds apart, Kate Spade and Louis Vuitton, but I'm telling you, it really filled that need and that void of the handbag I was wanting in that particular shape in the black, just for a nice classic bag. And again, when I saw the Alma, I still love the Alma. I mean, something about that style is very classic. I love it. It was one of those, I wasn't as wowed as I should have been, especially for the price. So I feel like I got a great deal with the Kate Spade and I absolutely love that bag. So I took the Alma off my list altogether. So let's stick with Louis Vuitton. I have the Alma BB on my list from last year, the Speedy B25 on my list, and the Neverfull GM in Monogram. The Neverfull GM in Monogram, I can wipe that off the list because I bought it for Christmas when we were in St. Thomas. I don't know if I mentioned that. If you follow me on Instagram, I showed you the enormous box because I just had to share because it was kind of obscene how big the bag and the box was. I felt so silly carrying that around. So I did get that, and I'm mainly going to use that for travel. So now I have all three print Neverfulls and all 2 MMs and a GM, so I'm glad to have that. And as far as the Speedy B25 and the Damier Ebene, that's always the bag that I thought I wanted as just my go-to every day. You know, if it gets rained on, doesn't matter. And it's one of those that's always been on my list and I never get it. Maybe because, you know, I just know it's a classic and it's there. Well, so I ended up getting a Damier Azur version of this bag last year. And it kind of gave me that taste for Speedy because I've never really been a big Speedy fan, but I like the bandolier version and I like the 25. So I was like, okay, that lets me know, do I like Speedy? Do I not like Speedy? And then with my new bag I just bought this past month, it was between the bag I bought, which is the Sienna PM, and the Speedy B 25 in the Damier bin. I put them side by side when I was in St. Thomas. Actually, they didn't have the PM of the Sienna, they had the MM, or I would have bought it then. They had the MM and the Speedy B25, which I'll go in more of this because I'm going to do a comparison between those two bags. And honestly, to me, the Sienna PM just blew the Speedy B out, you know, 25 out of the water. My husband thought so too. He's like, you know, without a doubt, that's the one you should get. So that one has now been, it's off my list and I don't see me needing to get that one now. The Alma BB. You guys know I ended up getting this last year and I carried it. I love this bag. Every time I see it on somebody else, I'm like, oh, I love that bag. Every time I carry it, I'm like, I love the look of this bag. I just don't know function-wise if it's the perfect bag for me. I want to love it, and as many of you know, if you follow me on Instagram or if you watched my handbag collection video, I'm actually selling that bag. I've had a few people interested and some sales fell through and some people think, you know, you should be giving it away. I mean, it's barely used. And so I actually took that off my Instagram for sale recently because it's one of those I'm like, well, is this a sign that I shouldn't be selling it? Because I want to love it. And I do love it when I look at it. I just don't find myself carrying it. And I'm one of those people, if I'm not carrying a bag for a while, it makes me question, do I need this bag in my collection? Is it working for me? So a few bags have come off the list for that reason because I purchased them. But what is still on there, and this may surprise you guys, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this bag, maybe to a few of you in passing, but I went ahead and put it on there. I have the Louis Vuitton Pochette Métis in the Monogram. Now, I'm gonna tell you a little backstory that I never did tell you. Last year, January, like the first week in January 2017, I actually got this bag. Unboxed it, filmed an unboxing video. I'm editing it back because I'd actually done a vlog not long after that talking about my Louis Vuitton drama, and then with customer service and everything went on for like a month or more, it was a nightmare. It actually like turned me off of Louis Vuitton. I may have mentioned that in my wishlist video last year, but anyway, as I'm editing my unboxing of the Pochette Métis, I see there's a flaw on the front. And it's one of those, I looked at it and I was like, okay, if it was on the back or the bottom, I could get over it. Literally right on the front, there was a flaw. And it was so funny because I didn't notice it at all until I'm editing it back and I'm like, and I know every one of you would have noticed it because it was one of those, the way the light hit it, it was like, boom, there it is. And even looking at it in person, you couldn't really see it, but I knew once, like my husband said, now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it, you know, and it's like, that's so true. Sent it back, and of course, then it was so popular, I couldn't get my hands on it again for a while, and it was like a big mess with customer service. And anyway, I was kind of like, you know what, I'm turned off of that bag, and maybe I don't need it. And I've asked for it a few times when I went store just to see, you know, do I still want it? Well, I asked when I was in St. Thomas at Christmas, and sure enough, they had one. Had it in my hands. I have the Sienna MM beside me, another bag, I don't remember, and the Neverfull GM, which I knew I was getting. And so my mind was already on that, like, Neverfull GM. I have the Pochette Métis in my hands. I'm like, you know, do I want it? Do I not? I don't know. They have it. It's like a miracle kind of thing. And my husband's like, you know, he's like, whatever, if you like it. But because I'd already had my mindset that trip I was getting the Neverfull GM, I think, I just let it go. I was like, nope. But I still keep thinking about it. I don't know if it's one of those bags. You guys let me know if you're like this. Am I thinking about it because everybody says how great it is and I feel like then I need it? But then I also, am I thinking about it because I do really feel like it would serve a purpose in my collection? And I really don't have that many Monogram bags, except for like little accessories, except for now my GM. Anyway, so that's like long story, making it longer. So that's why it's on my list, because I may still want it, I don't know. So the Toiletry 19, we talked about the Keep All, a Monogram shawl in like a gray color. This really didn't come up on my radar until about Christmas, or I would have probably gotten one when I was in the store. But again, I was on that one-track mind, wasn't thinking about them then. I'd like just some kind of gray color. I don't know if like the tone-on-tone gray or like a darker gray, like the denim kind of look with the, like, it's actually called black, but it looks gray. I'm not sure, but I'd like to have one. The Louis Vuitton Pochette Accessoire, the new model. I believe I want this in the Damier Azur. Just for a small bag. I feel like I use my Damier Azur little pouch from my Neverfull all the time on vacation, but sometimes it's not quite big enough. Most of the time, yes, and it's just fine, but sometimes I would really love it to be a little bit bigger. So I think I would like to have that primarily for vacation. And then I'm always drawn to, and this is the bag I forgot that I looked at in St. Thomas as well, is the Louis Vuitton, the Palace BB. I asked her how to say it because everybody seems to say Palace. She called it Palace, so that's what I'm going with. I would like it in the brown black combo. They had it in the red. The only thing with that bag, and I even took stuff out, I was carrying my Gucci Soho Disco that day. I took stuff out of that and put it in the Palace, or see, I want to say it, Palace BB. It's pretty small. That's the only thing, but I love the detail of it. So I went ahead and added it to my list anyway. So let's talk Gucci. I still have on my list a Gucci Marmont belt with gold hardware. I actually have one on order. It's on back order to me. Who knows when I'll ever get it. It said the end of January, so it could be coming at any time. I actually ordered the smaller version because I'm not quite sure how I feel about the large version. I saw the large version when we were in Seattle, and I was like, man, that seems awful big. And I know that's the popular one that everybody seems to gravitate towards, but I don't know. I might like the thinner version, and I believe that was on my list last year as well. And then some Gucci Marmont sandals. I don't know, I believe these look like they're new for this year. I would like the brown, but however, that's one of those things I need to see in person to know, is it worth the money? Do they look like they would hold up? You know, all that, but I love the look of them, especially the brown with the hardware. So I really like those. Moving on to Hermes, I would like those sandals in the brown. Again, I'm not sure between the two, you know, which is the better value, which would hold up better, which would I get more wear out of. So I like those, the slides. And I would probably like to have a twilly at some point, but I'm very specific in my colors. If I see something, great. If not, again, I wrote it down just because it was in the back of my mind. I would like something kind of with like some orange, some blue, and like a tan. I don't know. I definitely want some orange, being, you know, that's Hermes' primary color. I don't know, just the blue and the tan. It seems very summery and kind of colors I gravitate towards. Chanel, the only thing I have on my list from Chanel, I took off the walk last year because I have looked at that in person and I'm just on the fence about the size for the money. You know, Chanel's price increase has just gone insane to me. I would like a Chanel brooch, but I'm very specific. I saw one around Christmas time on Fashion File and I should have picked it up, but to me, I thought it was still a little overpriced for not being new. I went with like 2 different metals basically, or 2 different materials. I don't want all like a pearl or all something else. I want like 2 different things. So when I know it, I'll see it. If it's the right price, I'll get it. So I'm really into a Prada bag recently. I don't know what has come over me, but I saw one actually on a cruise ship, and I can't remember what ship it was, but certain ships will carry certain lines. Like the last ship we were on, they had some Longchamp bags, you know, and they're maybe a tiny bit discounted, but not really. You just wouldn't pay tax on them. Well, this had a small collection of Prada bags. And I've just always loved the shape. It's that very classic. I want the small, the double zip, the Saffiano collection, and I want it in like a tan color, which they're very hard to come by in the specific size. I don't want anything too big. So I'd really like that. And then lately I've definitely been on a YSL handbag kick. I think for my smaller bag, instead of the Chanel, I would like a YSL. I am always drawn to the little clutches. I don't know exactly what kind I want. I would need to see them in person and kind of play with them, but I'm always drawn to like the beige color with the silver hardware or the black with the silver hardware. I feel like I use those two colors a lot, especially when I travel. So I'm just not sure which one I would get more wear out of, but I definitely want a smaller, you know, one of the kind of wallet on chain type bags from YSL. And I believe that is all for my wish list. I probably forgot something even though I'm looking at my phone, but I feel like it's always changing slightly and I'm tweaking things a little bit. And again, that list is kind of just like, as things come to my mind, what I might want to look at, what I think I might want to incorporate in my collection. Again, I'm always kind of reevaluating my collection. Like, do I use something? Do I not? Does it fit anymore? Do I need to sell it? Definitely let me know what is on your guys' wish list. I love reading the comments to know what you guys are loving, or just tell me your favorite luxury bag too. I would love to know that. I just love the back and forth about what people like and why. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any future videos. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next video.